Anyway, so welcome back to my old, well, not just old, but my TF2 mapping projects. This is part 2, and this is the first of the maps where I actually have multiple versions to show off, because they were made, at least in part, on my new computer from this point onwards. So that's why I have access to older versions. At least the older versions of the maps. I'm not so sure about the hammer files, but I definitely have older versions of the maps downloaded. So I have 6 of those maps that I'll be showing for this particular section. It's still kind of in the old project section. I'll do the first half for this. I'll do the first 3 in this video and each of their versions, and then the next 3 in the next video, and then probably after that it'll go my miscellaneous projects that I either stopped working on or just thought were interesting little sidebars, and then my current projects. And I think that in total will be like maybe 5 videos, maybe a few extra if I continue the series with, you know, updating my current maps. Although that's probably wouldn't even be part of the series. That would just be like, hey, I updated my map. But anyway, this is CP Man Sisko, which I made around the time, I don't remember how long after, but a little bit after the Frontline community update was announced and the community-made assets were dropped. So I kind of wanted to try to make something like that. So this map, I was thinking, how about a city? The big thing that I really wanted to make in this map, for some reason, was just like a series of roads that had trolley paths on them. And as you can see, they don't look very good, but it's something, and the geometry is definitely getting better. The spawns, and I'm also, you know, getting map balance down more and more. There's things like, you know, things like overlays getting working. Technically, these lights are giving off their own kind of lighting, but that's because I borrowed them out of the prop zoo. I don't know. It's just like a big collection of props and entities and stuff for the Frontline update, so I just pulled those to use for now in the alpha version of this map, and I don't quite know how many versions did this go through. Well, this is A1. If that's A1, how many other versions of it were there? There appears to be 3 other versions, but one of them seems like a hotfix version, A1A. Not really sure what got borked in this one that I had to fix in A1A. So, I could just look around. I remember what it was. I didn't pack my props correctly. That's what it was. I don't think I knew properly how to pack custom entities at the time, like all the Frontline assets, and none of them packed properly, and on the playtest at TF2 maps, it just kind of just died. It was bad. So I had to do a hotfix, and I think I fixed a few other minor things. But anyway, so we got the spawn, you know, balance is getting a bit better, working a little better with scale. The spawn room is, you know, a little more spacious than before. The doorways don't immediately have you going through Sightline Central, although one could argue that this is kind of bad because you have to cross in front of this door to get to the other exits, and a sniper could probably just perch here and just aim down the sights on you. But the actual spawn points are not really visible from the enemy team. I mean, you could also argue that the enemy team could just spam projectiles into the doorway, and that's definitely true. But it's not nearly as bad as the maps that came before it. So yeah, spacious spawn, multiple exits that actually have different uses. Like there's a high ground exit over here that doesn't quite get you as close to the point, but it gives you some access to some flank options over here. And then you have what I would consider to be the main exit, though that's kind of weird calling it the main exit considering that the spawn room is actually right here off to the side. It probably would be better, you know, if I had the room, you know, over here. So this would be more like the main entrance, and that would be more like a side exit. And the problem that I was mentioning before about spamming projectiles into here probably wouldn't be a problem. I think I did fix it later to move the room into the right place. We'll see. I haven't looked at these old maps in a while, so it's going to be a journey for both of us here. There's the main exit, and then there's yet another, even more. It's the most forward exit you have, closest to the point, but also farthest away from the spawn doors. So there's that. But I think there's Funk respawn room in the entirety of this building. So you could literally just like walk into this room and be teleported all the way back there. Kind of funny, but also kind of not very good. So coming out of here, figuring out a bit more about blocking sight lines and things. I think it's a little unnecessary that I have this bus parked outside of this door. I think, yeah, it's probably a bad thing that this bus is parked outside this door. Originally, I wanted it just to you know, block sights directly into here, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I also put this ramp here to put most of the spawn on a high ground so that you wouldn't get shit on by sight lines anyway. So there's really no reason for this bus to be parked here. I don't even think I moved it throughout the other versions. This building is blocked off before you even cap A. Not sure why. This is kind of this bar room here. It's got shot out windows and these nice little awnings. So yeah, you got the bar, this rudimentary little countertop, and you got health. So this room is basically, oh, that's a one-way door that opens really slowly for some reason. So it's a one-way room that unlocks when you cap A, and I think my reasoning behind having it blocked off at the start was so that you couldn't walk behind the enemy team. I'm not sure if I changed it later. Might have. This was originally going to be a tram car, but then I realized that not only would the tram cars be, that this model that I kind of had going on here would be way too small, especially when I looked at the other tram model props that I had available to me. They were much larger than this. I think I just put a van there. I don't remember. These are honestly more minecart rails than anything. So it's just weird. You know, if I worked on the balance on this map a little bit harder, I could potentially see it maybe working better as a payload map, just because, you know, I already have a bunch of rails laid out. So it might work better. So you have the A point here. It's just kind of in this weird alcove. Still had the weird, I keep saying weird a lot, but I had this addiction to making sure that walls contrasted from each other, despite the fact that, you know, lighting does that. That's what lighting is for. I think I said this in the previous video. Got these big windows here, and then the orange thing here to make it distinctive, kind of. You just walk up into this just very bizarrely designed room that's sole purpose is to give you high ground over the point. It's very extremely close to spawn, so you can get to A very, very quickly. It's kind of frightening. And there's this room here. It's got, doesn't really make, from a gameplay standpoint, I guess it's okay. And the health, I'm not so sure about the health, especially it being a medium. From a design perspective, makes no sense. Why would there be these giant staircases in a shop? Because I would presume it would be a shop because of the awning. And then leading out to the back exit here. And then these, I believe, lead to the next point. There's this ramp here. There's another shop here. And there's a full health down there. That's interesting. And an ammo. I guess this is because, I guess I put a full health here because, what? Why did I put a full health here? I think I put a full health there to entice Pete, so that you don't get punished so much for dropping down here, because I think you take fall damage if you fall, if you were to just walk off this, or even if you jumped off of it. You take fall damage, and it's hard to get back up to the point from there, so, you know, risk versus reward, but it's not that balanced. This point, I don't know any of the cap times on any of the points that I have, because I don't have people running around in this. I wouldn't really be able to check. I think people... I don't remember if blue was having way too easy of a time capturing the point, or point A, or if red had too easy of a time defending it. I think blue had too easy of a time attacking it just because of how close it is to the spawn. That alone I could definitely see. You go through here, there's a tank used to... Well, I don't really know why there would even be a tank there either, because that also unnecessarily blocks sights. And this too, even the placement of the van on the tracks is kind of unnecessary for blocking sight lines. Especially when I have these walls here in the big, in this tunnel. I'm not really sure what this would have even turned into. I think my original plan was that there was going to be like, this was kind of like a building bridge kind of thing that'd be going on. I don't know. So there's that, and there's a tinier building there. I don't know what these walls turned into. I think they turned into larger walls that you could see through, so you could tell that there was a route through here. And then we move on to B. We have this kind of back alley area. And when you cab A, not only do you unlock this room, which should pretty much be just unlocked from the start, I think. And I might have also moved the point outward, I'm not sure. But it also unlocks these back doors on the shed. And I originally had to fix this too, because, you know, people were kind of getting lost walking through here and then it just being a dead end. Kind of irritating, so I think I'd eventually put doors there. We'll see that. But yeah, we got this flank out here. We got some cover with some boxes. We have this room, of course. Come out here. You don't get a whole lot. You don't get a whole lot of cover coming out of here because there's this big old thing there. It's a massive site. Tanks blocking the path there. Sign. More props, just a lot of prop spam here. Way too much prop spam. I think I put this bucket here so that you could jump on top of the bus, which is an interesting choice. More of these roads, more of these paths. Got a crosswalk here that I just kind of MacGyvered out of an overlay. I don't remember what overlay, but it was definitely out of an overlay. Another bus and sandbags blocking the road. And you have this winery, a way too cramped of a room, a very, very cramped room, and this back part of it is just pretty much useless. And you come through here, you get to B, another extremely cramped area. Red can pretty much just camp on top of this roof and get away with anything that they want. It's a little ridiculous, especially with how the interior of this is set up. And there's a bus here that's supposed to block sight lines through this. I'm not going to spoil, and then there's C. I'm not going to spoil what happens to C just yet. Well, in terms of what I changed to it, but let's just look at C for now. You have 3 ways into C. I don't think the red spawn is anywhere even near here. Red spawn is all the way back there. You can enter through here, and down here, and out here. You can enter through this area, which has a sign, I guess. What the hell? Something special for someone special. Who cares? Yeah, just kind of a sign here. An extremely weird looking alleyway. This leads into another part. And then you have this room which has windows looking onto the point, and then this lower staircase area that actually takes you there, whatever. A whole line of identical yellow Jeeps. Nothing weird about that at all. A gigantic fence with a bunch of trees from the Frontline Prop Zoo. And then this is C right here. This is the final point. Attack and defend. I completely forgot to even mention that it was attack and defend, but you could pretty much figure it out by how I was talking about this map. But yeah, it's attack and defend. It had 3 points. Had 3 points. Kind of spoiled it there. This is C. And it was in this really cramped... I thought that at the time, I thought this was a really cool architectural design. I was kind of basing it off of something that I think was some structure that was in San Francisco, and I built it here and I thought it was really cool, and you can get up on the lip of this and you could stand up on here, and there was red spawn over here and all this stuff. The red spawn is a little cramped, but yeah, you come out, you got all this, you got the trees. But overall the problem is that C is just way too cramped, but it's too cramped and it's too hard to push. I think the theme with all 3 of the points was that they were too hard to push, just in general. Let's see what happens in the next version of the map. Alright, so we are now on A2 of Man Sisko. As you can see, the spawning point room was moved to the location that I suggested my past self to put it, I guess. Come out of here. There's now a sign that tells you to go that way. I don't think it was there before. Oh, this lip is here because I'm on the red team, technically. Give me a second. Alright, let's just make sure here. Yep. So, just ignore the corpse of my past self right there. So, yeah, we're in blue again. Spawn is moved. Sign is pointing that way now. Props are properly packed. This is now different. I don't remember... yeah, that was there before, actually. That was there before. This is a little different. We'll talk about that a little later. This room up here leads down to the point. That's not moved yet. That orange block is now a van. I think this is when I was first introduced to the vehicle, to the custom vehicles pack. that actually had the van and the trolley model in question that discouraged me from actually putting down any trolleys. But I did use a lot of these buses, even though they have Japanese writing on them. Anyway, ignoring that, not a whole lot is different here, other than what I pointed out so far. There's that. There's the sign. There's that. I don't think I knew how to make overlays bigger or smaller yet. Or no, wait, no, that wasn't it. The thing that I hadn't figured out, one of the big things that I hadn't figured out yet in a lot of these older maps is that you could put overlays on more than one brush. I thought the overlays could only be on one brush face, but you can assign them to more than one brush face. So I didn't know that at the time, so I would specifically make brushes around certain overlays, and sometimes it didn't work out too well. But that's just kind of a sidebar. Yeah, there's the arrow. This little area is different. Oh yeah, the doors here move the buses around, and there are now these extra doors so that you don't quite get as lost. You know, it's not a dead end, but it still suggests that it opens when A is capped because it says loading zone A on it. At least I hope that's what it would suggest. That's not really different. It looks different. I might have adjusted cap times, not sure. Here we go. These walls here, these red walls that were once solid, are now see-through and taller. So, you know, it's not as gross. Still, that bus probably shouldn't be parked there because it's unnecessary. Come out. I don't know if anything changed in here. I don't think anything really changed a whole lot with the actual second point. This might have been different. I don't think I talked a whole lot about this bus and being able to get on top of this, but that was a thing. I did add this just gigantic banner-looking thing. No idea what it could even represent. But here, okay, here's one of the big changes here. There is a forward spawn. That's what this is. This is a blue forward spawn, if you couldn't tell already by the resupply lockers and the blue walls. I believe this unlocks when you cap C. Yeah, because otherwise this flank would be useless. Yeah, when you cap C, that unlocks. And you'd come out here. You come out of that door, kind of a very weird place for it because I couldn't find any other good place to put a forward spawn. Looking back, the best place it probably could have been placed would be there, you know? This just the side building because there's this just hunk of nothing here. That's probably where it would have been placed best, although it would have significant sight line. There would be a sight line pointing right at it from the previous point, although that would be a point that had been capped. Come out here. This is I think these walls over here got opened up because it was way too spammy, but it's still a problem. I think I remember during testing someone kept putting sentries in that spot, and it was really hard for people to take care of. It kind of sucked. This whole just kind of sucked. And then there was C, which was also suck. This was a little bit wider, and the pillar's a little bit thinner, and there's less trees. But it's still too cramped. I don't know what else. Did I change anything else? This room doesn't look different at all. This doesn't look different at all. Might have added signs for clarity. I'm not sure. No idea why that plat pack is floating so dangerously close to the ground. This is still like this. This isn't a whole lot different. As you can see, not a whole lot was actually improved, especially with this particular point. Some improvements were definitely made, but not with that point. So let's go to the final version that I had working on this, and this one accidentally paused. And this one is probably the most drastic of the changes. You'll see why. Alright, so this one had some of the more drastic changes of any of the versions. This is A3. Added signs that point out these were exits. There was also a little left arrow pointing out that this is an exit. This is still not unlocked from the start, and I guess it never will be. The sign that was on a big bulky brush before is just on ground now. It was still unnecessary because this bus probably should not be there. I don't know what else. Oh, I changed textures. I finally started learning that, you know, I don't need to have a bunch of ugly orange textures everywhere to make things make sense and pop out. Not sure why that's blocked. I think I removed the windows because because people said it was confusing or something. Not exactly sure what. A is still not changed. Probably cap times got changed. Not sure. This room, not changed at all. Because this was still back in the day where I thought all I had to do was look at feedback.tf to find the information I needed. But once again, that's wrong. If you want feedback, you have to look at the feedback. That gives you a very, very general, sometimes unreliable idea of what to do in the map. You look at the demos of people playing your map primarily, and most importantly, you yourself should play the map with other people. You'll find that you will find the most changes you'd want to make and mistakes and things to point out when you are kind of on the hot seat playing the map with other people while they're judging how you designed it. So yes, not a whole lot different here, not a whole lot different here, still not a whole lot different here. This got changed. I don't know why I had a wall here. This just makes it even more cramped. Might have made this easier. No, not a whole lot was made easier here at all, actually. Is anything else adjusted? I think the props here might have been adjusted a little bit. Oh, this forward spawn. Yes, this forward spawn is gone. And that is because I removed the entirety of point C because it was that bad. So I just ended up making the buildings that were originally led to C just into red spawn. Takes you right out to B. And yeah, it was a pretty big change, but even that wasn't enough to save this map because it just wasn't that great. Unfortunately, was not meant to be. It was a good effort and a much better effort than the maps that I had done previously, but it just could not be salvaged. So I guess on to the next map, the second map on the agenda. And yes, this is the next map. This is another 5CP map. This is CP Reservoir, which is a mirrored symmetry. It's a mirrored symmetry 5CP map, which is not something you should ever do. Those two things do not mesh well together. As you can see, there's already some non-dev textures here in A1 of the map. This is last. For some reason, my idea for this map was to make a 2-fort themed 5CP. Like, just visually, like this would be the Spy Techie last, kind of like the intel room with the cave ceiling, but also the Spy Techie rooms. This is the last point up here. And then you have a transition area with this stuff. I'm not sure what I did. I don't think I published any of the next version I made of this one. There was only A1 of this map, because it was also not too great. But it was just an experiment 5CP. You get another transition here with way too steep ramps, just way too steep. And you come out here, here's second. There's this really tiny little transition room here, more transition. There's just this whole room that's just kind of isolated here, this whole area with this wood and stuff. This little shack. I guess a bit of an experiment in detailing with the little edges. Sorry about that. So, yes, we have this area here. Yeah, just kind of, yeah, isolated area. This was the big selling point of the map for me. The big reason I wanted to work on it were these sewer tubes here. I wanted them to be kind of the interesting feature of the map, or just these little sewer areas. They were not very balanced at all. They were a good experiment in rounded geometry, circular geometry, trying to make this. I think this was also the first time I used area portals. Actually, might have been Man Sisko that I first learned about area portals. Was one of them. Actually, might have been even earlier than that. I don't know. But this one definitely had area portals, and I was struggling for a bit trying to get them to work just because of the water. It was this map that taught me that with area portals, if you have an area portal going through water, you have to have one above the water, above the surface of the water, and one below the surface of the water. I don't know why they have to be separate, but they do. I think it's because you can't have it cutting through brushes that aren't funk details. So this is second. This is, I guess, the forward spawn for when you cap middle. And you come out of here, this big wall. These block some geometry. There's the other end of the sewer tunnel. It's down here. And there's a bridge. And there's another sewer tunnel down there. There's just WADA. Second's pretty boring. It's pretty bare. The only 3 ways you could even get into the point are from that high ground area, this middle area, and the sewer tunnel. And none of them are that great. And then you have this room here. It's got a boiler. You have this ramp. Don't know why the ramps are orange, but they're orange. So you have this little high ground area. It's just supposed to give you a little bit of high ground coming out. Just a little bit. But this room altogether is too cramped to be a proper transition. And then you come up here, and then here's the real big 2-fort inspired thing here. You have, and also that it's mirrored, you have a few different things going on here. You have this ledge, these ledges here that are 2-fort inspired. I even actually ripped the windows just straight out of a decompiled 2-fort to find the props to use. Well, that prop at least, to replicate the windows. Got a bunch of fence props here. We used way too many of those. Lower area here with water and the pipes, but it has a ramp coming out of it, unlike regular 2-fort mid. These shacks, still a bit of an experiment in detailing. I don't know why that lighting is red. I think these packs might be too close to the point. This big lump of, I don't even know, garbage dirt, beard dirt, whatever Cave Johnson would call it. But yeah, it's a very peculiar experiment in map design. I'll say that. Just this big building here. Also, these transition rooms are very close together. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's a U-shaped mirrored symmetry 5 CP. The mid with a last that just does not make sense in terms of balance. Everything is way too separated. There's only 2 spawn exits. You have just this weird geometry, these 2 areas that just don't really link very well together. Just the whole thing is just kind of a odd mishmash of ideas. It was a nice, I guess, quote unquote artistic experiment in what themes I could try to pull off in certain kinds of maps. But gotta say, not a whole lot impressive to see here with this one, and not a whole lot notable either. But I did, of course, learn some things doing this. Making this and all the other maps did not go to waste, but you know, reflecting on them, they're not good. I didn't expect them to be good going into this. Yeah, so since this is the only version of this map that really exists, we can move on to the final map for this video. This is the final map. It has 2 known versions that I could find. This is PL Napoleon, Payload Napoleon. This was the second time I tried to make a payload map. Definitely an improvement on the first time I tried, but not as good. Well, it's just not the best, but not the worst. It was an improvement from the last time I made a payload map. So we come out of here, we kind of have some, I guess, perhaps they're like, I'm trying to think what map inspired me to make this. I guess maybe like, I think my idea was I was going to make what map was inspired me to make this? Was it Badlands? It was either Badlands or, God, which one? Badlands or Granary or something. Anyway, it was farm themed. It's probably Granary then. Some kind of farm themed map for a payload. We got the dirt going on here. I think the next version of this map is when I really started getting into figuring out displacements and stuff, because as you can see, these are just blocks to start off with. These are just solid brushes. Come out of here. It's pretty cramped, but the doors aren't too unbalanced, because you start here, not a single one of the doors is visible from, if you are outside of the spawn, like you're on red or whatever, you cannot see where the people are spawning, which is good. And on blue, likewise, you can't just instantly spawn in and get killed, or instantly spawn in and shoot something. You have to come around. There's the signs that notate that. You have this high ground exit here, just kind of empties out from a wall, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You get the main exit here, Actually, really, this whole thing is kind of the main exit. It's just a Mr. Wide exit. Yes, it's Mr. Wide. That makes sense. Come out of here. I think this is a rollback zone. Probably is. You roll back, and then there's point A. You have this little shack area. Kind of a... I'd imagine this being a defensive position because it gives you a bit of high ground, lets you kind of snipe into the main exits. I think I specifically wanted to make it so that... I think the reason I had that diagonal exit in the first place was specifically so that people standing, like, up here... I think it was specifically so that people standing up here could not see anyone coming out of that exit, so you could actually, you know, not get instantly sniped and killed on the way out. Likewise, if you're down here... Or, yeah, if you're standing here, trying to get a good look... If you're trying to spam all three of these entrances here, you won't be able to spam that one. I think that was my goal there. I don't know if it worked well or not, because it's been a long time since this was tested. But there's that. You can stand up on the shack, which is interesting. I think the only way you can put sentries up here is if you sentry jump up there. But even still, that seems like it'd be an overpowered sentry spot. Little kind of diagonal room. Experimented a bit with more diagonalish geometry here, just diagonals and ramps and stuff. Is this red's initial spawn or is this blue's forward spawn? Might be both. I think it's just a blue forward spawn because there's blue walls in there. If it were both, it would be something else. Come out, you have this going on. Come over here. There's this room that's separated. It has a sight line separated with this big bulky ramp. Doesn't look too great. There's packs. Pack placement, I think, might be getting better. Maybe. But again, balance. There's an overlay missing there. There's this cramped room here that has a high ground and a low ground entrance, but they're both, once again, cramped. And then a high ground and a low ground exit, which are also cramped. Super duper cramped everywhere. I think this was supposed to be a barn kind of structure here with the multiple ramps kind of curving about like that. Looks pretty weird. Ooh, this was also kind of a dynamic payload. I think what I had going on, we can jump back here. Yes, I think this is red's initial spawn. You come out here, you don't even see, when you come out of here, you don't even see that there's a door that way, the quick way out, and most people went this way and kind of got lost, or it took them too long to get to where they need to go to defend. And I believe this door... I think... I'm trying to remember what happened. Come out of here, and then I guess you'd be forced to go this way. I think the intended route that I wanted people to go was to go immediately head left, come out of here, turn right and up here, and then down here, and then you'd be here quickest. But it was just a super convoluted way of setting it up. There's this bridge. Yeah, this links to a bridge that goes over the barn. Very strange setup for it. And then a full ammo there at a crossroads. Also still very strange. I think this door unlocks when you cap B, which is over here. B is alright. It's open, but that's relatively speaking, given that most of the map is pretty small. It's pretty underscaled, I think. This building is... vertically speaking, this building is massive, except for gameplay, in which not very much. Go through here. Some interesting doorway designs here. And there's a room that just kind of U-turns. There's a death pit over here. Let's not make the same mistake I made in Canyona and just run straight into it. Redstone cargo since 1937. Way too big of a space for a sign, and the shadow looks weird, but whatever. It's just some basic detailing that I wanted to try out. I think this is another rollback zone. There's a fence there. I don't remember when I first learned that you needed to make fence props non-solid and have player clip. It might have been in this map. I can't confirm. C is meh. Probably pretty meh. I'd imagine it'd be a pain in the ass trying to get to C, though, because of this rollback zone right before it and the distance. Well, I'm not sure. I think blue actually might have had an easy time on this one. There's this kind of just back area that's disconnected from the rest of the world here mainly because of this fence, I'd imagine, is what disconnects it. I thought I was super clever by having this sign prop here. This sign prop is always double-sided in that it's a red arrow pointing that way and a blue arrow on the back pointing the opposite way, technically. If you rotate it around like this, it's the same way, but if you're speaking in terms of people moving in the directions the arrows are pointing, it goes in opposite ways. Red gets told to go that way, and then from the back, blue gets told to go this way. I thought it was super clever. I will say, definitely makes some amount of sense that I'd have a full health kit dangling off a death pit, and just, I don't know, just entices people to take some risks. You come around here, very, very deep, or almost deep-ish flank. Not much of a flank because it gets kind of cut off with this door. You have these these props here, and then there's this way to climb up to the upper ledge of the point here. There's red's spawn. Oh, actually, like final spawn, their big main spawn. Red. There's red and D, and there's the pit. Yeah, blue would push in here. There's this giant window, giant skylight. You push through here. Oh yeah, there was also this. I think this door unlocks when you cap this right there. Kind of confusing though, because with the sign saying C, you'd think that this leads to C rather than it being opened by C. I don't know. So this door unlocks, I think, when you cap that. Blue... Where did blue get a forward? Blue gets a forward spawn there, but it was way too far away, so I think I add one later, like somewhere there. When you go through, I think this forward spawn gets taken away from red when B is capped. Yeah, that might make sense. Not sure. There's the last, also pretty cramped. I think the last was the only part for blue that was actually difficult. It was either too difficult or too easy, I'm not sure. Poop. For some reason I put this Easter egg here made out of buildings that are meant for the skybox, given how tiny they are. But it says poop. So this map is an automatic 11 out of 10. Just automatic. And this, with the really steep ramp, leads up to some windows that I thought would give blue some high ground. That might have been one of the reasons it would actually be really easy to push in. And the ceiling is massive. Just some very peculiar balancing ideas here. The map, as you can see, just in general, is tiny. It's a tiny payload map. Payload maps are pretty big. Like, really, really big. And this is not big. This is, like, medium at best. Let's see what I change and what I improve, if I improve anything, in the A2 of this map. Alright, throat is killing me. I've been talking a lot because I also recorded 2 Portal 2 some map suggestion videos today. But anyway, yes, A2 of PL Napoleon. This is the last version I made of this map. Let's see what I changed. The diagonal exit is different now. Instead of the high ground being the way it was before, there was a ramp going up to here, and this was on the base level. This is now on the high ground, and it goes to here. I don't really think it was a better or worse design decision, but it's definitely different. It's definitely different. There's not a whole lot changed here. These rocks, excuse me, these rocks are doing whatever. This is where I actually turned the ground into displacements, and definitely looks a lot better with displacements. And I'm actually pretty proud of what I managed to do with the displacements here, given my knowledge base at the time. Not sure what else gets changed here. That's about the same. Looks like this room looks to be about the same. This door looks different. I'm not sure what I changed there. This looks different, I think. The fences look different. I think for height, I think I took to mind adding a bit of height variation on this point, so I raised this up a bit. Doesn't look too great because the slopes just do not look very natural at all, pretty pointy. I think it's because I had to base it around the angle of the tracks. But yes. Let's see. there's anything else that's much different. There's this bridge that was in the original. This here. Tried to make, or I think I made this wider. This bridge just a little bit slightly wider. Here, yes, here we go. This is different. The spawn, when you come out of here, the door is moved over here now, and it has an additional sign there. I think when you cap the point that unlocks this door for blue, a hidden door comes down here and blocks the sign. So it's like, hey, don't go that way anymore. The arrow is gone, so you shouldn't. So the door's there. The arrow is now pointing slightly downward to indicate that there's a thing there, and there's a window that lets you kind of see more into this room. I don't think it helped too much, but you know, whatever. This, I'm not sure why I raised it up a bit. It might have been for sight lines or something. Well, this is interesting. Maybe I hadn't added the... Maybe there was another version of this map that I'm forgetting. I think I was in the works of making one that had a forward spawn here. I just kind of gave up on it. There's this extra ledge here. Makes for some interesting additional gameplay. You can't shoot the top of the building from up there. That's something. And there's this cart that lets you climb back up. Oh, it might have been... Maybe it was for visual consistency between these two sets of fences that I did. What I did with that. This doesn't look much different other than the fact that it's a displacement. This looks about the same. Was this truck here before? I don't remember. This doesn't look much different, but the walls don't look as ugly, and this room is a bit bigger. There's that. Track kind of snakes around a bit. This goes down. Ah, there's more height variation. It looks like it slopes downwards a little bit. Doesn't affect a whole lot, but you know, it's something. Taking some ideas into account. This last does not look any different. Doesn't look any better. I think this is also a rollback zone right there on that ramp. Perhaps. You can get up here. This doesn't look much different. Overall, very minor improvements. Improvements in quotes in this map compared to its original version. There's the poop still. Not a whole lot different, but I definitely did take some criticisms into account. You know, actually had it displacements, improved the gameplay a little bit. I can't exactly comment what would have been improved because I'm not, again, not actually playing it, just kind of flying around and showing it off. But I think these three maps have shown that they were a bit of an improvement, at least a very little bit of an improvement, or at the very, very worst case scenario, very least, or learning experiences for even better projects to come. So that's pretty much all I can really say about these first three maps of the, I guess I'll call them the second generation of Papers maps. The first video is the first generation. These three maps I just showed are part 1 of the second generation, and the ones I'll be showing in the third video are part 2 of the second generation. And then there's going to be a third generation, which I think is the maps I'm working on currently as the third generation. And then, yeah, and also my throat is hurting a lot. This also happens when I stream. If I talk too much, my throat just kills me. But yeah, those were 3 more maps of mine. Let me know what you thought of them. Let me know what you thought of the other maps. And once again, let me know if you would like to see more of this. I hope you do, but if you don't, that's alright. And yeah, old map projects. See ya.